Chazz, Coach, it's nice to see you again.
My man, pleasure's mine.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So you were in Africa recently?
Yeah, I just came back from South Africa, which was a really cool experience. We were in South Africa in Johannesburg for a few days, and we went to Kruger, Kruger National Park, did the safari thing for a few days, and then we kind of finished up the trip in Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe, which was really cool. Probably could have spent another day or two, probably. But we were kind of in and out of there. But I got to do the gorge swing, which was an experience, to say the least.
Gorge swing?
Yeah, so think bungee jumping, but instead of the apparatus being, tied to your ankles and you going upside down, it's more, your hips and core, and you're just swinging down however many 1,000 feet. And it was crazy. And I walked up to the platform with all the cool and calm in the world and immediately regretted it as soon as I stepped off the platform. Because I know if I looked down, it would be a problem. So I didn't look down the entire time until I jumped off. And the first thing I did, I guess just instinctively, was looked and totally freaked. But it only lasts 3 seconds. So, you're back to life. You're back to life pretty quickly. But I'm certain I died for a second.
That's a long 3 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
The longest 3 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, and now I'm back, and back to life and regularly scheduled programming.
Awesome. So what's new for you now that you're back in the States?
What is new? Well, the first thing is obviously I'm not at Hampton anymore. I spent the last five years there, and that was it was an experience as well. I enjoyed my time, and largely I enjoyed it because I wasn't, I was glued to the mission. So there's any number of things that we could talk about that might have made it difficult, but like I said, I was glued to the mission. So my why and what kept me going and waking up every day and getting to work was, it was easy for me in that regard.
And sorry to cut you off, but for some listeners who aren't, I guess, don't know the landscape of lacrosse, could you explain to them?
Yeah. Absolutely. So Hampton University is the only HBCU with a Division I men's lacrosse program. And so for me to have the opportunity to lead that program, obviously as a Black male in the sport, but somebody who spent a considerable amount of my adult life trying to expand the reach and growth of the game, that was an opportunity when it arose that I couldn't turn down. And not only was the only HBCU with a Division I program or Division I men's program, but I had been attached to the program since its inception as a club. And again, for those who may be watching who don't know the history of it, the program began because a young man decided to create the program from scratch out of the blue as a club, and passed away in the process of doing it. So his mom picked up where he left off to get it started. And I had a conversation with her early, kind of got a call out of the blue. I was on my way to Chick-fil-A down in Miami. And I remember standing outside the parking garage and speaking with her for 20, 25 minutes on the phone about what was going on and what she wanted to get accomplished. And so that was back in, I think, June of 2011. And so I've been kind of loosely attached to the program since then. And so when the opportunity to take over came up, it was a no-brainer for me. And it came with a number of challenges. And, this may or may not be the time to discuss all those challenges, but the point I was getting to was I was glued to the mission. I wasn't glued to, hey, I got to be a Division I lacrosse coach. I got to be, I'm trying to get X amount of wins and move on. It was always about the mission and helping to solidify Hampton University lacrosse's space in the game and in the history of the game, and hopefully open a door wider for some folks to pursue their love of the game in an environment that prior to this they couldn't do. So that was the last 5 years for me. We've parted ways. Hampton University and I have parted ways, and I decided to get started doing some other things that I'm passionate about, which is youth leadership. And that has provided me two opportunities that were semi-related, but really have come together in the last 3.5 weeks. And so now I'll be coaching at Christopher Newport. But then I'm also, it may be too early to announce this, but I'm also joining another organization that is rooted in developing, sort of on the leadership front, but preparing young athletes for college athletics and life beyond college athletics. And I think it's a startup company that I think is at the forefront of really doing this work in a unique but productive way. And so, again, that's an opportunity that's really come up in the last week, and it'll be official sooner than later.
That's awesome. Congrats, man. We're really happy for you that you're still continuing to follow where your heart is. And it's not just trying to find a certain job or a certain position, but you're following who you are and letting that job come to you. Yeah. That's a special thing that I think a lot of people search for.
Yeah, man. And it's, it's all coming into place the way it's supposed to, man. That's divine order right there. I turned down some opportunities to bet on myself, and it's not always easy. I think the part that made it, what convinced me I needed to do it was just the fact that I think I'm in a place in life where I've done enough work that has been cool and good and great, like in terms of, I've done some stuff that I've enjoyed doing, but I'm at a point in life where if I was going to work for somebody else, it had to meet certain metrics, some of those financial, some of those not, some of those personal. And if it didn't meet those metrics, I couldn't do it. So I decided, this is the time for me to bet on myself, because 5-10 years from now, that's going to be a lot tougher to do. So that's what I did, man. I jumped, just like I jumped off that platform and did the gorge swing. I jumped and trusted that things would come together, and they have. So that's where we are, man.
Yeah, it's about taking risks. You there's that famous Denzel Washington speech where he talks about falling forward. Don't have anything to fall back on. When I fall, I want to fall forward. You got to go all in on what your beliefs are.
Look at Sean quoting Denzel out here on the podcast. I love it.
I love Denzel Washington. I just watched Philadelphia for the first time the other night. Great movie.
Have you seen the new one yet? Have you seen Highest to Lowest?
I have not.
Neither have I, but I want to.
I'm sure it's good. I haven't seen a Denzel movie that's not good.
Yeah, I'm itching to see it.
So you mentioned earlier, and something like one reason why I really want to have you on this podcast is it's called the Cancers Podcast, but it's not cancer in the literal sense. For me, it's in the literal sense because it's something that I've had to go through and overcome. But if you look up the dictionary definition of cancer the other way, it's sort of that hurdle that we go through, that struggle in our life. You've been an athlete at the top level, a coach at the NCAA Division I level. I'm sure you've had other things just like many other people, but that's what this podcast is for, right? It's for people to come here and listen to others who are inspirational, which I definitely believe you are. When I get bummed out, I turn on your highlights. I'm not going to lie on YouTube. And I watch your videos, and your Instagram is, I feel like every time I go on Instagram, I see you've got a story of an inspirational quote about fighting through. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to open up the discussion on that. I know you mentioned some of the difficulties at Hampton. We don't really have to touch on that if you don't want to, but I'm just really interested to hear your perspective on overcoming these cancers in our lives.
Yeah, man, there's a lot there. There's a lot there, and there's a lot of people that have a lot of different takes on this, right? Yeah. So I don't want to speak on this in any way, shape, or form that makes anyone think that I have the right answer or the one way of going about dealing with, hardship, adversity, etc. And I love these type of discussions because you go on Instagram, you go on YouTube, there's always a video, somebody talking about it, and they all provide a little bit of different perspective on it, and you can pull bits and pieces from all of it. I think the falling forward part is great advice. I think one that I've heard a bunch is handling hard better, right? There's always going to be some kind of hard coming your way. You have to handle it. I think for me, what I've learned in life is to simply accept that there's always going to be something, and that 100% of the time I have come out on the other side of it, right? Like, there hasn't been anything that I've gone through in life that was difficult, whether it was a challenge in a classroom, whether it was a challenge on the field for me as an athlete, whether it was a challenge for me as a coach, a teacher, other professional settings, just dealing with people or circumstances, a relationship, whatever it is. There's nothing that I've gone through that I haven't come out on the other side of, and usually better for it. So I don't get to, I guess one of the things I've learned as an athlete is not to get too high or low. And that allows me to deal with a lot of things, because whenever anything pops up, I'm able to pretty quickly put it all in perspective and say, all right, well, this is what I have control over. This is what I don't have control over. Let's address what I can control and let the rest take care of itself. Because no matter how much I gripe about it, whine about it, complain about it, yell about it, scream about it, get angry about it, and those are all natural emotions, but no matter what I do, it's not going to change that person, that situation, that whatever it is that came up. So let's just focus on the things that I can control. And how do I attack those one by one, bit by bit? So I think that's one of the biggest lessons for me, is just being able to identify, well, first, accepting that it is what it is. Here's another one for you that I saw a while back. Said the problem isn't that we have problems. The problem is thinking that having problems is a problem. Right?
I love that.
It's okay to have problems. It's okay to go through a little adversity. Like that's okay. It happens to all of us, right? Like the moment we freak out because everything's not perfect, that's when it gets difficult to deal with. So the first thing is accepting that, hey, there's something that's difficult here. We're going to be okay. And that we're going to come out on the other side of this, because 100% of the time so far we have. All the data, all the history, all our experiences so far have proven that we're going to be okay. And then it's all right, well, if I know I'm going to be okay, the only way for me to attack this is bit by bit, and it's to only deal with the things that I have control over. And I think that works routinely. Like, I think that is solid advice that fits darn near every situation. There are some things, again, that you just don't have any control over whatsoever, and those may be the most difficult things to deal with. But then, you know, as cliche as it is, you always have control over your attitude. You always can have control over your effort. You always can have control over what you focus on, right? So even in those moments where 99% of this situation is out of my control, I can still control how I react to it. I can still control how I accept it or don't accept it or deal with it.
It's almost like having a filter in your brain.
Oh, absolutely. You have to have a filter in your brain. And sometimes that's the toughest part for people. They don't have any filter, right? And they're unable to compartmentalize. So everything, it's like having a closet versus a dresser, right? You have a closet and you start throwing everything in there. It all gets jumbled up. Things get lost. You don't know where something is that you 2 days ago, you knew where it was. You know, a day ago, you were like, I know I put it in this closet, but in that last 24 hours, you've thrown so much more in there. You can't find it. You don't know what to look under. You know, you've seen it, but, you know, at least if you have a dresser with separate drawers, you can put this here, and know that if I have to look for something, I don't have to look in this drawer, this drawer, this drawer, because that stuff is, you know, something else. So being able to compartmentalize a little bit, to me, that's the same as having that filter, right? Except maybe it's a little more intentional than having the filter, right? So yeah, I agree. You got to have a filter there. And once you do, then you can start to sort things out.
So I was going to ask you, how do you get that filter? But I think you kind of answered it with being intentional.
Yeah, you have to be intentional in everything, right? That's one of the things that I talk about a lot from a coaching standpoint. You know, coaching lacrosse is everything that we do has to be intentional. One of the things I learned from my coach, who stole it from Coach K, actually, at Duke. He said he went to a Duke basketball clinic one time, and he was watching guys, or they were running through a practice with their guys. And Coach K was on the side, and when things would happen or when mistakes were made, he didn't just jump on them. He'd say, "What did you see?" Or "Why did you make that play? What is it that prompted you to do that?" Right? And so then he took that and kind of internalized it. And I have to be intentional enough to go to that space as a coach to do that. But I try to do it more often. It's becoming part of me. It wasn't who I was as a coach for a long time. But I find it's a lot more productive, right? So if a kid makes a play that is either the quote unquote the wrong play, or he does something that doesn't make any sense to me, instead of me just freaking out and yelling at him, it's all right. Well, what did you see? Because he may have seen something that I didn't see, or he may have seen something that was actually good. He just screwed up in the execution. And sorry, I keep looking off to the left. You're over there on the left for me. So
it's all good.
Try to keep looking forward. But yeah, so now whenever I can be conscious of it and intentional about it, I try to ask, what did you see, or why did you make that decision? Mm-hmm. And a lot of the time they'll come back and tell me what they saw or why, thinking that I'm going to jump on them. And the reality is I just want to know what they saw, right? Because I want them to do things with intention. Don't just do it just to do it, right? If you're going to make this pass, if you're going to skip this ball through 5 sticks, don't just do it because, it just happened. Like, there has to be some reason that you did it. And if you didn't have a reason, now we can have that conversation. Now that opens the door for us to grow and to move forward. So that's something that I've learned. Another kind of random experience that I had that is sort of related, but kind of leads to my mindset and why I'm a little more measured than I was when I was super young, is I had a coach. I was mad about something one time. Forget the backstory for now, but I was mad about something, and I was sitting up in the bleachers of the gym, and there was a coach who I knew. He actually didn't coach in my school, but I knew him through basketball camps and stuff like that. And he noticed me, and he came over to me, and he could tell I was upset about something. I was just up in the top of the bleachers, all the way in the corner by myself. And he came up and he's like, I don't know what you're mad about, but I can tell you're pretty upset. He said, at least you're doing the right thing, right? Being able to recognize that you're not in the right headspace to talk to people or to be around people. And so you're removing yourself and separating yourself and just getting quiet. He goes, that's the right thing to do. And that stuck with me. So it's kind of been how I've operated since then. I was probably 16, 17 years old at that time. But it always resonated with me. But beyond, the idea that, hey, I'm mad about something, so I don't want to talk, I'm going to go sit off by myself. It's not really about that, but it is about being conscious enough and poised enough to say, all right, whatever I do right now in this moment, because I'm on this emotional high, is probably not going to be all that productive. So let me calm myself and then get to it. So yeah, I don't know where we're going with that. I think I was on a roll there.
No, that makes sense. It's pausing, going back into your mind with that intentionality, and it ties back to the dresser.
Yeah.
Selecting, because a lot of times this happens to me too. Something bad happens to me. What do? I yell, or I get really angry. I might, if it's an altercation with another person, I might yell at them, right? If we're having an argument. But it's smarter to just pause real quick, be intentional, think, okay, what emotion do I need to tap into? Like you said earlier, kind of connecting to question or things like that, instead of sometimes we get that road rage.
Yeah.
Like just automatically, right? It just flips a switch in our head. If we're able to pause real quick and collect ourselves, go back into our mind and then select the right thing. And like, as a coach or a player or as a person in any situation, maybe you do need that rage for something, right? Like if it's a pregame speech, go back into the cabinet, open up that angry, pump up mentality, right? That, there's times, it's not that emotions and stuff are bad. It's just there are times to use them.
Yep. There's a time and a place for everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, that's a little bit of, a little bit of my mind and how I function and kind of get through things. But, everybody's got their own approach. And that's one of the things that I would challenge everybody to do is get to know yourself enough to know how you function best, right? what are the things that you do for yourself that are productive when it comes to adversity, when it comes to challenges? Some people really don't know who they are, and they just react. They just fly through, whatever it happens to be. And you can't really be intentional until you know yourself. You mentioned already that that sometimes you'll yell or whatever it happens to be, right? But you have to know yourself well enough to know that. And the better you know yourself, the quicker you can get to that other place, because you can feel yourself going there. That took me a little while too. I think I got away from that as an athlete when I was playing professionally. I used to feel like I was pretty poised on the field anytime I was playing, at least emotionally. But I did get to a point. There was a point one summer where I found myself losing my mind all the time, mostly with, officiating and that type of thing. But I had to like actually recognize it and bring myself back. And part of what helped me is, I think it was after a game. I don't remember which game, but it was another game we lost. This was the 2012 season with Ohio in our first year. No, this was 2013, early in 2013. And we lost a few games. I thought the officiating was terrible, especially in Ohio. It's nothing against any specific officials. I have no idea who's officiating our games. But I just noticed I was losing it. And I was yelling at officials, not in their faces, but, it was uncharacteristic of me. And I was thinking about the fact that, every day you're on a field with kids, telling them how to manage themselves, how to not talk to officials, how to deal with their emotions. And here you are losing it, right? Like that, it doesn't add up. But that was a conscious conversation I had with myself, not out loud. I hadn't gotten to that point yet, but that was something I really actually had to process in like real time. And I had to snap myself back. And the officiating, it didn't change. Like the rest of the season was just as rough. But I had to say, look, all the time, every week, you're out here talking to kids and telling them how they should handle things. Well, you gotta embody that, and some of those kids are watching you on TV. So what do you say to them? You can't be the hypocrite. But I had to know myself enough to know that I was off balance. I had to know myself enough to know that I was being hypocritical. And then I had to know myself enough to know, all right, well, this is how you get yourself back on track. So.
I just thought of this while you were talking. This is like the check yourself before you wreck yourself philosophy.
I like that. I like that. I may use it.
Please do. It's not trademarked, I don't think.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
That is. You're right. That's the philosophy, man. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. And you know what? That applies in so many different spaces. Yeah. That's a good one, man. Good call there.
I mean, it could happen in the workplace. It could happen with a family member. It's any situation where a problem, or as we call it for continue the branding. Sorry, I got a fly in my face. The cancers that come up in your life. Check yourself before you potentially make things worse for yourself as well. Yep. It's like that's kind of the whole thing.
Before you mess around and find out.
Exactly.
That's the TV edit, right?
Yeah, because like if you mouth off to ref too much, then maybe you get a penalty. Maybe you get two. Maybe you get ejected, or you say something that you shouldn't say. I'm just saying in general, not saying you, of course, but that happens in sports.
Of course. Well, I just told my guys at CNU. This was actually my intro story to them. I told them about the time I got kicked out of a basketball game, and this is the only 2 techs I ever got. I got them in the same game. I never got one playing, but I got him in this game and got kicked out. But the bottom line there was, there were points at which I could have corrected myself, and I still to this day I could share the story later, but I didn't earn those technical fouls. I didn't earn those. I didn't deserve to be kicked out of the game.
Yeah.
But as an older, wiser coach now, I do know that there were moments where I could have pulled myself back, got in the right space mentally, and it would have been all good instead of me getting kicked out. And because I get kicked out, now the school gets fined, and I get suspended for a couple games, right? Like, that is what it is. That's the fallout, right? I messed around. I found out. I didn't check myself, and I wrecked myself, right? But
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, I think that's what it boils down to, man, is being able to pull yourself back when you get a little emotionally off balance, and then being able to take the situation, figure out what you have control over, and take care of those things.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily like we talked about, especially when giving advice to people. And I always try to say this: there's not a right way or a wrong way. There are just multiple ways.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes you come to the same outcome. To keep it on the sports analogy, you can have a bunch of different offenses win a championship, right? A bunch of different styles of offense. There's not one way to do it.
Yep.
But in the natural reaction as a human being when something bad happens to you is your emotions, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not a bad thing that you get mad when something bad happens to you. It's just a really good thing to be intentional, understand what's happening. And part of that is you've got to practice it. I think you talked about practicing. It took you a while to get into that. You can't just flip a switch and change the way you think. You've got to really be intentional about it.
Yeah. And emotions are good,
yes.
Right? Anger can be good. Mm-hmm. The question is, how quickly can we get from anger to a solution? That's what, and that's the same thing I talk about with our guys in games, right? Like, something happened, they're pissed off about it. Okay, cool. What's the solution? How do we get to the solution? Instead of you being, whether in a game or practice, right? Sometimes you have a kid that's having a bad practice and he feels like nothing is going right for him. And really, he's not that far off. Like, things are really not as bad as they seem in his head. But he's made a couple different mistakes, or he's made the same mistake multiple times. And he doesn't recognize it because he's so frustrated, right? It's like, all right, well, let's calm down. Let's figure out what the actual issue was, and then let's correct it. Let's get to the solution as quickly as we can, right? And the solution might be something that is going to take you 2, 3, 4 weeks, right? Like, you may need to correct a habit. So are you just going to throw away everything every single day, every time you make this same mistake because that's the habit you have right now? No, then your days are wasted. Mm-hmm. The thing is to recognize the habit that you have, know that you have to correct it. And then when you make that mistake, whatever happens to be a mistake, or you do something the way that you're trying to change it, but you're still doing it, recognize it. Recognize the feeling, recognize what it should be or shouldn't be, and get to the solution as quickly as possible. Exactly.
I love that, man. And I I sort of like, I see that all as, and this is what I talk about, and something that I learned from my journey battling cancer, that is just about being in the present moment and really having that clarity of mind. I think really helps. As soon as something happened in the happens to you, a second goes by and it's in the past. You can't control and you can't change what happened a second ago, no matter what it is. You can't time travel. It's not invented yet. Could be wrong. Maybe we don't know yet. But but it's like having that presence of mind, intentionality, and then just the wherewithal to go back. And I like that drawer analogy. Open up that drawer for anger, maybe put it back in there and step back in. Or maybe you need that anger. Maybe there's 10 seconds left in the game and you got to force a turnover. Mm-hmm. All right, tap into that, right? And that could go through anything in life. We're using the sports analogy because I think we're both pretty big sports guys, but it also could go into anything, you know.
Yeah, it could, absolutely, man. You got to believe that life happens for us, not to us. And if you can accept that, if you can believe that, then everything that happens to us is somehow for our good, for our betterment, for our development. And you don't need to be as angry about it. You don't need to be as sad about it. You don't need to be as disappointed about it. You don't need to be as worried about it. Worry is not a present tense thing, right? We don't worry about things that are taking place right now. We worry about things that are coming, right? So if you can stay in the present, you don't have to worry about the worry, right? There's nothing to worry about. Yeah, man, I don't know. I don't want to start talking in circles. I think we're on the same page here, man. I love it. I love your take on it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what's been awesome, though, just about this podcast in general before we wrap up, because I think we got to a really good point that a lot of people can step away with. But again, too, where earlier you said there's no right direction, there's only perspectives from a lot of different people. And when you combine perspectives from other people that you meet, you sort of form your own philosophies on life and how you get through things. And I think it's important to be intentional about that, because life is hard, right? Mm-hmm. You get literal cancer like me, or you might, get cut from a team in the real world, lose a job, divorce, like hard things happen. So it's important to be intentional. So when those hard things happen, you come out on top.
Amen. Couldn't have said it better. Man.
Awesome, Chazz. Well, I really enjoyed having you on. Thank you so much. You're one of my favorite lacrosse players ever. So just to, obviously the way lacrosse impacted my life in Alabama, watching it grow too. And after battling cancer, I didn't have the other sports. I couldn't play football. I got left behind in all the other sports, and lacrosse was new. So it opened up a world to me, and I just love everything you're doing to help grow the game and give it to more people, give that gift. So, and I appreciate also your insight on everything. Before you leave, do you have any last words for any listeners, encouragement or wisdom?
Man, I always got some words, man, but I think, you know what? Rather than me even say that or go down that path, I'm sitting here staring at my notebook here. It's got on the cover of it. It's my little journal / notebook. I haven't done journaling in a long time, but anyway, it's Joshua 1 verse 9. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And again, like, I always got something, but this was sitting right here in front of me, and it just felt like it connected to everything that we just talked about. So there's your word for the day. Joshua 1 verse 9.
I love it, man. No, that's the best way to end it. Thank you so much for coming on again. Y'all have a good one out there listening to.